Hello and welcome to our cooking class this evening. Tonight's theme is all about the Varoma, so I hope to be able to share some hints and tips with you about the Varoma. Just by way of admin stuff, there is a chat function in Zoom, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. At the end, I'll also open up the floor for anyone else to ask other questions that we can just cover and discuss. Just so you know, this meeting is being recorded to put on YouTube, especially for those who registered and couldn't make it tonight. It's mainly for them, but other customers do find it helpful. So if you'd rather not be shown on YouTube, just keep your questions till the end. After I finish the record, then I'll stay on for anyone who wanted to ask further questions. So we'll just get straight into it. So we are talking about the Varoma tonight, which comes with your Thermomix. Whatever model you have got a Varoma. Basically, this is your Varoma dish, the big one. Your Varoma tray is the middle one, and your Varoma lid. And basically it sits on top. So whatever you're cooking in here, as long as it's producing enough steam, you can be steaming anything above. There are a number of recipes that use the Varoma for multi-layered cooking, but even if you're not following a Varoma style recipe, but you're cooking something that produces steam, you're welcome to just put this on top and steam something, whether it's veggies or chicken or fish or whatever you want to steam. When you're done with your Varoma, just try not to open it this way, because the steam is right at your face level compared to when you're steaming on the stove, which is sort of down here. So try and open it this way so that it's away from you. Flick it upside down, and that acts as a tray so that you're not dripping the liquid out of your Varoma, so that you can move it to the bench wherever you want it to be. I'm going to show you some other things about the Varoma soon, but I do want to start by sharing a recipe with you that I've pre-recorded. Because Varoma recipes take a bit of time, like the steaming time, I wanted to cut that out and be efficient on tonight's class. So I have pre-recorded two videos over the last few days, and I'll start with one of those now, which is it introduces itself, but and please just shout out if it doesn't work properly. I need to share the screen with you. So this is a recipe that uses multi-layered cooking a soup and some veggies and fish at the same time. Hello, I wanted to do some Varoma cooking with you today from a collection in Cookie-Doo called Fabulous Flavors on Every Level. So I've got pea and ginger soup with lemon, salmon and broccoli. So it will all be cooking in layers. So we'll just get started. If I press start, first we're making the marinade for the salmon. So the first thing it's asking for is some olive oil. And the scales have come up, and I'm just going to start pouring in. I want about 30 grams. Went a little bit over there, 32. It doesn't matter if that ever happens. And we want 50 grams of soy sauce. I'm using tamari, but you can use whatever soy sauce you have. I like tamari because it's, it's pretty additive-free, gluten-free, like quite authentic soy sauce. And a little bit of brown sugar, which I've made myself in the Thermomix. There's a recipe on Cookie-Doo called dark brown sugar, and if you want it to be light, you just halve the amount of molasses that goes in it. So I'm putting in some brown sugar there, and zest from half a lemon. And I just use a veggie peeler to get my zest. Just peel it off. So I've got a whole lemon's worth here, so I'll try and get about half. Doesn't matter too much. We're going to use the rest a little bit later. And the juice from the lemon. Yep. I have that here as well. Okay. Going in. Nice. Okay. It's asking me to, the previous step was just asking me to squeeze the juice from the lemon. Yes, that's fine. Okay, so, and then we're going to mix all that together. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Just 20 seconds. We'll get our bowl ready for our salmon. Now this recipe asks for skinless salmon, so but I found it cheaper to buy the salmon that had the skin on. It was just a matter of ripping that skin off. It rips off quite easily, so I've already done that. So it says to put the salmon into a deep dish. So I've got that here. Got fresh Tasmanian salmon. Oh no. Moved my camera that I'm trying to show. So we've got our marinade in here. Hopefully you can see that. And it just says to pour the marinade over the salmon. Well, you just saw that, but yeah, so that goes in. And so we want this to sit in the fridge for about 10 minutes. So I'll go set that aside. Okay, so now we carry on with the recipe. That's in the fridge. So it's asking me to put in a whole heap of shallots and just cut in sort of pieces, a garlic clove, 100 grams of leek, and some fresh ginger, which is optional, but I always add the ginger. I love ginger. So I've got all that here in a bowl. You can see all that here nicely. So all that can go in. And 50 grams of olive oil. That's why I got out my big tub instead of using my drizzler, because we need a good amount to saute all this goodness. How yummy is that? And I didn't wash my bowl because it doesn't matter if a little bit of that marinade is in there. If you want to keep the flavors completely separate, then wash your bowl, but I'm totally happy to skip that step. So 4 seconds, speed 4. And then we're going to be sauteing this. So because we want extra steam to escape while it's sauteing, we're going to be putting the simmer basket on instead of the measure cup. And this is going to saute. Oh, actually, I want to show you what it looks like after we've done that chop. So because it was only on speed 4, everything's quite chunky here. Hopefully you can see all that. And that's good for this. We want to have it nice and chunky to saute together. We will be blending this later, obviously, because it's a soup. If you wanted things finer, we would have done a higher speed, not just speed 4. But for this recipe, this is perfect. So, yeah, sauteing for 7 minutes. And in that time, we will get our Varoma ready. Okay, so this only has a few more seconds, but what I've done is I went and got my Varoma, and I actually have some pre-cut Varoma size baking paper things that you can get from the Thermomix website. Otherwise, normal baking paper, you don't even need to make it round. Just whatever you do here is fine. You can also get from the mix shop a metal, like a stainless steel tray that sits within your Varoma tray. You can use that as well. But yeah, that's all been, I mean, it's too steamy really to see, but that's all been sauteing very nicely there. So we are going to add in just some chunks of celery. And the main ingredient are our peas. So the scales have come up automatically when I press the next. So all I have to do is add the peas, which are currently in a big chunk. I'm trying to undo that with my hand. There we go. Straight from the freezer. Okay, we want about 350 grams of that. And the water, obviously need some water in soup. This recipe doesn't use stock paste, but if you want that extra flavor of stock, you could add in some stock paste or use bone broth instead of water, whatever you want to do. I'm just following the recipe for today's sake. Yeah, you can vary it however you like. What it will ask for is some salt. So yeah, and I mill my own salt in the Thermomix. It's just another way of making things additive free is processing your own ingredients. instead of buying them pre-processed, which have additives. It's also a bit cheaper. I buy the rock salt in bulk. Okay, so now it wants us to set the Varoma in position. So it's talking about the Varoma dish, which I'll just sit here. And then it's asking me to put in our broccoli. You could also change this to be whatever veggies your family like to eat. And when I'm laying it in my Varoma, I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap in the middle to let the steam circulate. You don't really have to do that, but it's something I always like to do. So hopefully you can see that okay. And then we will put on, we'll season that with some salt. Just whatever. You could add some herbs if you wanted to. And we're going to insert the tray and get our salmon. So hang on 2 secs while I get that. Okay, so I've got the salmon out of the fridge. It's saying to arrange on the tray. It's been marinating very nicely. And I'm using tongs so I don't make a mess. I'll probably still make a mess. Oh, yeah, dripping a little bit. Okay, nice. And what I'm going to do, oh, another little bit there. What I am going to do is just add a little bit more salt, a bit of pepper, and drizzle the marinade over. I may also, I've got some more of this lemon zest that I had earlier. That might be nice on there. Obviously take it off before you eat it, but that would be nice if you have celery leaves or other herbs. That would be nice on the salmon as well. Yeah, my paper's just going a bit skewed. And I'm just going to drizzle that marinade over the top. If you want it to be more subtle, don't do this. Don't add the extra marinade. But I like the flavor of that. It'll be quite nice. And then we're going to put on our lid, which is all the way over here, and steam. So this will all cook at the same time for 20 minutes. We've got our soup cooking with our broccoli in the dish and our salmon up the top in the tray. So 20 minutes, and then all we'll need to do is blend the soup. It has been 20 minutes, and now the Varoma is going to be finished. Just when you're opening your Varoma, have it faced, can you see what I'm doing? Oh, you can see my camera there. Direct the steam away from you so that it's not coming at your face. You know, if I did it this way, it would be coming at me. So I like to flip the lid upside down and then put on here so it's acting as a drip tray, so it's not making a mess all over the bench. Hopefully you can see that salmon nicely cooked there. And then what I'm going to do though is, because we're going to blend the soup, so to keep this hot, I just put it on anything, doesn't matter where, and leave the lid on. You could just have it on your bench, but it will be dripping down everywhere. So yeah, a plate would work as well, but I already had that bowl out, remember? So we are adding some cream, and it's to taste, so 50 or 100 or anywhere in between. You could add sour cream if you wanted, or whatever, or skip the cream entirely if you want, but I think this is a nice addition with all the greens. This will be a nice green soup. And add in your measure cup. And we're going to blend that for 2 minutes. We turn it to 5 first, and once it's reached 5, then we gradually step it up to 10. So I'll show you what I mean by gradually. So I've turned it to 5 here, and just, this is how slow it needs to be. It doesn't need to be very slow. All they mean is that you don't go whooshing up there. So yeah. And that is done. And the arms will release. I like to flip my lid upside down so it's not dirtying the bench. So just leaving it like that. But before I do that, I will scrape down some of this that's on the lid because I don't like to waste any little bit of it. There's our beautiful green soup with all that yummy flavour. So just serve some of the soup. That can be the first course. Now, if everyone wanted to eat soup just while everything else stayed warm, you could have this sitting here and put the Varoma back on there while you eat your soup. But I'm going to just serve it all up. So we've got our broccoli sitting here. Nice, nice. Nothing too fancy about the broccoli. It's just been steaming away. And then we'll get a nice piece of salmon. And then we have our, let's see if this camera will show it better. No, it's too far away. Let me see if I can show you this way. Salmon, broccoli, and soup. Nice. And that's the end of the recipe. So, and then just to share our family's review of the recipe, everyone loved the salmon. It was delicious. Steamed salmon, I always love because the texture is just so beautiful. But being in that marinade and cooking in the sauce, and yeah, the salmon was delicious. The broccoli was great. Some of the kids didn't like the soup. They're not big pea fans, but I loved it. Some of us loved it. And you could easily use any soup with that recipe. Like the other thing you can do in Cookie Do or any recipe Thermomix is chop and change. So find a soup you like and then steam the salmon and broccoli up the top, or use the pea soup and steam chicken and whatever at the top. Like you don't always have to follow recipes, just chop and change to make it the way your family like it. So before I show you the other video that I made to show multi-layered cooking in your Varoma, I just wanted to show you some other accessories you can get with your Thermomix Varoma, from the mix shop. So the first one I want to show you is this Varoma trivet. I think it's only like $10. Don't quote me exactly, but it's not expensive. I'm going to look up the prices for you all and put them in the email. Tomorrow I'm going to send you all an email with the recording and some extra info. So I'll do what I should have done before this and actually look up the prices for you. But the Varoma trivet sits down below so that if you're doing a lot of things where you're really packing in your Varoma, it just helps circulate the steam around. So think like a whole roast chicken. If I'm doing a lot of chicken in here, I like the trivet because it just helps circulate the steam. Before I had this, I used to put in cookie cutters down the bottom of my Varoma. So if you have, you can't really see what I'm doing, but it's just a bunch of cookie cutters next to each other. Metal ones, because the plastic ones will melt. Make sure they're heat-proof cookie cutters. That will help circulate your steam. So if you've already got cookie cutters around, they work really well. It's not as professional as your trivet, but it works. It works. The other thing I want to show you that you can get to put on your tray is a stainless steel tray. I mentioned it in that video. So you would have seen my paper that I had. You can get Varoma shaped paper to put in your tray that I used in the video. There's some with holes. So if you're steaming dumplings or things like that, the ones with the holes are good. And you would have seen that the sauce stayed up the top pretty well. Like it does it, these sheets do a pretty good job, but a lot of people like to cook on stainless steel. So that's something you can put up the top. So if you're cooking in a sauce or just steaming in general, the stainless steel tray is nice to add in. The other thing I want to show you are these Varoma muffin molds. And I love these because you can cook cupcakes or muffins or something without turning the oven on. You can also just use individual silicone cupcake molds that you can get at any kitchen store. But the Thermomix website sells some as well. But these ones I just love because the round one sits inside, then you add your tray, and the rectangle one sits on top. So you're making 13 cupcakes or muffins at the same time. And they just, yeah, it all just steams. So I do find that to steam your cupcakes, I set the time for 20 minutes. Oh, I put in a liter of water, and then it's 20 minutes, Varoma temperature, speed 4. And that's the formula that steams cupcakes. I do know some friends, I've done it with rolls. I've done this with bread rolls as well. So I've been cooking a soup below, and I've had my bread dough that's already been risen and ready to go. Shape it into little rolls and put it in each little thing. So you've got little bread rolls to go with your soup. That works as well. What else have I done in here? You can do cakes, whole cakes. Like there's a tin, I think if you get the 16 centimeter tin, and then again, what I would do is sit it on the cookie cutters so that it's raised up a bit, or the trivet. And then your 16 centimeter cake tin fits inside your Varoma so that you can steam a whole cake. And whatever your recipe says, so if your recipe says 40 minutes in the oven, it'll be 40 minutes of steaming. So again, 1 liter of water, 20 minutes, oh, not 20, whatever the recipe says. So 40, 30, sometimes it's an hour, whatever. Varoma temperature, speed 4. And I like to do speed 4 when I've got water going in my jug, because it creates a really good whirlpool. Like it creates a lot of steam. And that's just something I've always been in the habit of doing. So that's how you can cook a whole cake in your Varoma, muffins, and just a few little tips of adding some things in to help you circulate. You saw in the video how I created a little bit of a hole in the middle to make sure the steam was going to circulate around. That's something that's good to do as well. Or if you have really packed it, like there's one recipe, there's a few, like the brown rice salad and the tomato pasta with veggies and feta. I stack this Varoma and see how the lid comes up like concave, I think that's what it's called. I really overload my Varoma with veggies so that it sits on, but it's very full. So in that case, halfway through the recipe, I do take it off and just give it a bit of a stir. And sometimes I can tell that it hasn't needed me to stir it, but peace of mind for me to just come give it a stir. I'm happy to do that just to make sure it's all cooking really evenly. So that's a few Varoma tips. Okay, I'll play the next recipe for you, which I need to open. Sorry. So this one is, I really wanted to show rice, and it might seem weird that I wanted to show this, but I get asked a lot, can you cook rice in your Varoma? And the answer is yes, using this method. So that's why I wanted to show this method. And you can do this above anything, but the particular recipe is over a stew. But yeah, is that going to be it? Okay, here we go. I wanted to show you this great layered cooking recipe using the Varoma from a collection called Fabulous Flavors on Every Level. It's called Caribbean Stew and Steamed Rice Cups. This recipe is originally from the Dominican Republic, and they would traditionally cook it with goat. This recipe asks for lamb, although in the tips, because it's developed for countries where maybe goat isn't a normal easy to find meat. But if there's a tip in there on how to change it to beef or goat, it just changes the timing around a little bit. But we'll just get started. The first part is making the marinade. So it's telling me to put a bowl on top, and you could just put a bowl on top, but instead I'm doing it straight into my marinating kind of container. And so it asks us to weigh in the lamb, which I've just cut up, and it asks for lamb shoulder or any kind of stewing lamb. When I went which I went to Aldi because I thought that would be the best place, they actually didn't have Now I'm looking for my spatula. They actually didn't have, sorry, lamb shoulder. They had lamb leg that was boneless. So I was like, okay, whatever. We'll get that. That looks good. So let me just spread that out in my marinating container. And adding in some orange juice, which I've just freshly squeezed here. And the scales have come up, so I'm just going to watch. Cool. 50 grams of orange juice, and we want 20 grams of lemon juice, which hopefully I've got enough. Okay, great. I'll just put it all in. Yeah, and then some Worcestershire sauce. Now you can make your own Worcestershire sauce. There's a recipe on Recipe Community. I haven't done that in this case, but that's something you can do if you're wanting to have everything, absolutely everything from scratch. That is something that you can do. It's coming out so slowly. Sorry. It's got a little dripper on it. Okay. And then some herbs and spices are going to go in the bowl because we're going to chop them together. So we're putting in some garlic, onions, celery, coriander, and then I need to do that. So all those things I've got already all prepped here, so that can all just go in together. Coriander, celery, garlic, onion. Yeah. And then we want some oregano. So it says 2 to 3 pinches. I don't know. I love oregano, so whatever. I've already put the bay leaf in, and now it asks for cayenne pepper. That's actually a lot, but remember, this is a stew, Caribbean stew. Don't use, if you have a recipe asks for cayenne pepper and you only have normal pepper, that is fine, but then don't think, oh, that recipe was a bit bland. It's a totally different flavor. Cayenne pepper and normal black pepper, it's not really interchangeable. If anything, if you don't have cayenne, smoked paprika is a good substitute. But yeah, it's fine to change around flavors, but if you're wondering why things maybe aren't as flavorsome or a bit bland, that would be why if you're substituting. So it's asking us to put in our lid and chop for a few seconds. Do dance while it chops. So 5 seconds, speed 5. And then we're going to add that into our mix, stir it all around, cover, and we're going to, it says to allow to marinate at least 8 hours. It says 8 to 24 hours. Oh, could you see that? You could. It's all very nicely chopped. Sammy does a great job of chopping all these things. And then, yeah, so I'm doing this sort of a day in advance. So this will be my tomorrow night's dinner. Just making sure I get it all out. Normally, like in a recipe, it doesn't matter if you get it all out because then you'll just go on and keep cooking in the bowl and you don't need to clean it and all that flavor's in it. But because this is the day before, I don't want to waste any of this because I'm just going to be washing the bowl. Yeah, so then it's a matter of just stirring it around in with that citrus juice. So we've got the citrus to be, tenderizing the meat and that beautiful flavor of the orange and the lemon. We've got garlic, onion, celery, all these yummy flavors. I'll just kind of mix it around roughly, but then I put on my lid and I'll just shake it all around. It's easier. I love these sort of marinating kind of dishes. So yeah, I'll give it a shake and a stir, put it in the fridge, and then we'll carry on tomorrow night. So I'm picking up, it's the next day and the meat has been marinating in the fridge. And when you go to your Thermomix, if you are following the guided recipe, if you go to your recently cooked, I should just show you. If you go to your recently cooked and find the recipe that you have been cooking recently, the option comes up to resume or restart. So I'm just going to resume where we left off. So you don't need to stuff around trying to find where you are in the recipe. And we carry on. So I'm putting in 25 grams of oil. Just kind of get that all around. And then it's going to ask us for some sugar. You could use raw sugar or brown sugar, so it's up to you. So the flavor will change depending on which you choose. So we'll just see how we go with that one. And we're going to cook that together. So we're just cooking the oil and the sugar with the simmer basket on for 7 minutes. So we'll be, and then we'll add more ingredients. That has finished cooking, and I want to show you what we have here. Just that sugar's been cooking in the oil. And we are going to add some tomato puree and then cook that in with that sugar and oil. It's sizzling as I put it in. I don't know if you guys can hear that. And we just cook that. So that's going to cook for 3 minutes. I wanted to show you what you can do when you are cooking something and you want to know what the next step is on your Thermomix. So if I come here, I can press the preview button up here just so I can look at what's upcoming and skip ahead as much as you want. Or on this page that we're on where we're cooking for a few minutes, there's 3 little dots here. You can press those and go to the whole detailed view of the recipe so that you can really see your ingredients and your steps. You can look at variations to the recipe, nutrition guide, whatever. But yeah, the other thing you can do while it's cooking is have the scales on so that you can get other ingredients ready, put a bowl up here and weigh in your next ingredients if you want it to be organized. Yeah, that's basically all I wanted to show you while that's cooked. I like to multitask, so while the Thermomix is doing one thing, I'll go get whatever else is next in the recipe. Okay, that's been cooking, and we're going to be adding all the marinated meat. So I'll try and not make a mess. And we're adding the marinade, so you don't need to try and strain it or anything, just it all goes in. And when I cut the meat, I had cut it in 3 to 4 centimeter chunks, like it's quite big, like it's probably double bite-sized, but it's going to break down as it cooks, especially since I got the lamb leg instead of the lamb shoulder as the recipe said. So I am interested to see how this goes. Okay, so you can see there what we have in the bowl, and we're going to be adding some salt, just like a good amount. It says 1.5 teaspoons. And our water, so that's going to add some liquid to our stew. And I think that's it for that part. So next we're going to add the Varoma. And yeah, I need to get some water. Okay, so we're going to add our Varoma and add in some teacups or molds or whatever you're going to steam your rice in. So this is a really good way of showcasing how the Varoma can cook your rice for you. If you're doing a recipe that cooks longer, like you could do this over the top of a curry or a stew or any other kind of recipe that cooks over a longer period of time than sort of your normal 20 minutes. So this one's going to cook for 35 minutes. So I've just got some mugs in my Varoma. I've put 4 in, so you could use teacups, you can use whatever. And we're going to weigh in 40 grams of rice into each cup. So let's see how, yeah. I'm going to tear it because I went a little bit over on that one. You can tear it between each one or just keep adding up in your head. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we've got rice in each cup. And then we add some water into each cup. So we want 100 grams each. And that rice is just going to expand in there. I don't want to go over. Okay, that was perfect. Okay, next. And last one. Sorry, that's kind of boring to watch someone pouring water as much as I just did. And each one will get a pinch of salt. Just make sure they're all sitting nicely. Just a little pinch for each cup. And also a little bit of oil for each cup. Not too much. It says a teaspoon, but whatever you want to put in, like just a little drizzle for each is good. I know a lot of people cook rice without adding the oil or salt in, so that is optional, up to you. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and so then we're going to put our lid on and get cooking. So we're going to cook, as I said, 35 minutes at Varoma temperature on reverse. So the blades are going on the blunt side, anti-clockwise, so that we're not purposely chopping up that stew. And it's on the softest speed setting there is, which is the picture of the little spoon. I don't know if you need to see that, but those are the settings we have. So we will come back in just over half an hour to see the result. We are finished, and all we have to do now is plate it up. So take my Varoma off. Our rice cups are nicely steamed. So as I said earlier, the reason why I wanted to do this recipe was so I could show you the whole idea of steaming rice in your Varoma while something else is cooking below. So get out one of my rice cups. I feel like I should have used teacups instead of mugs because it hasn't gone all the way to the top, but we'll just see if they come out. I think it might be a bit of a mess, but that's okay. The rice is cooked, and the other thing to let you know is I had a peek at the 30-minute mark. The recipe said to do it for 35. I had a peek at the 30-minute mark, and the rice looked like it was nice and fluffy and well cooked, and I've used jasmine rice. So if you're wanting to do a little bit less time, you could try that. Okay, let's see if this will... Oh, actually, that works really nicely. If I can show you... Nope, shadow. There we go. A nice rice cup. And then I will just pour the stew all around it, which looks nice there too. Give that a bit of a... Oh yeah, that looks good. I mean, it looks exactly as I thought it would. So we've got our nice rice cup in the middle, and we'll surround it with the stew and make a mess on the bench at the same time. Let's see. I don't know. I'll add a picture to the video. But there you have our Caribbean lamb stew with steamed rice cups. And I think that was pretty easy, and definitely think it would be easy to use that technique of steaming your rice cups above any other liquidy kind of recipe, like a curry or a stew or something like that. So yes, you can find that recipe on Cookie Do. It's in the Switzerland collection called Fabulous Flavors on Every Level. So happy cooking. And review from the family, because it had been a few years since I'd made that one. That was a recipe I made years ago and forgot about. But everyone loved it. The lamb was very tender, just kind of spread apart with your fork very easily. And everyone likes the rice cooked the absorption method. So yeah, so that all worked really well. So just a few techniques for you today to learn about cooking with your Varoma. The other one I wanted to show you, which I've got out during that video, I went to my fridge and got out my this is the white 2.2 liter thermo server that because it's shorter than our normal 2.6 liter thermo server, it actually fits within your Varoma so that you can cook in it. So this is what I've used for the Varoma method of yogurt. So I take off my lid. And I think you're supposed to then scoop it out and put it in another container, but I never really get there. But that's my really creamy vanilla yogurt that I make in the Varoma, just in this bowl, and it ferments. I do it for 10 to 12 hours. The recipe says 8, but I like to do it a bit longer, just following the recipe on Cookie Do. But yeah, so there's lots of things you can get to work with your Varoma. Now, this one in particular, all our thermo servers are host rewards only. So if you want your hands on one of these, get in touch with your consultant, and it's a matter of just showing the Thermomix to 2 or 3 friends. And it could be in your home with our in-person demonstrations, or it could be online by setting up a little Thermomix demo with your friends, and you each jump on Zoom, or it could be to one of our public classes. And I believe there's a host with some of her guests on here tonight, and this is their demonstration. So there's a few different ways to get your host rewards, but talk to your consultant about that. The other thing I wanted to show you before we finish is just some, I need to log in. I'm going to share my screen again to show you Cookie Do, just super quickly, because I know that's not what tonight's about. And we do have dedicated Cookie Do tutorials, which I'll link to that tomorrow in the email so that you can join one of those. But what I want to show you for those who do have Cookie Do is if you scroll down, you can always see what's new. Keep going and you have just something else that's highlighted by head office. What's trending? So I guess over the long weekend, people were making pancakes and pizza, cocktails as well. So that's what's been trending. And then if you come down, it's got our latest collections in order of like when they're released. We're getting new collections every couple of weeks. Like Cookie Do recipe developers are amazing. I just love the new recipes. So this new one, Complete Layered Meals, I wanted to highlight because it's about what we're doing tonight. So over the last few days, I've cooked the Swedish meatballs, which were delicious. The mash, the potatoes, the gravy cooks in the bowl, and then you've got the potatoes in a Varoma dish, and then your meatballs up the top in the tray. So that's really good. I have tried that one also, and the Chinese style chicken. I've actually tried a few of these recipes. They're all really great, but showcasing how you can make complete meals using your Varoma. And if I go back to this, I'll show you, how did they spell flavor? Probably, I'll try it with a U. Yes, great. This is the, there you go, there twice. This is the book that I got the 2 recipes that I did from tonight. So yeah, really good to just have a look through and find some other multi-layered cooking. It's nice to just try new things. Sorry, when I'm on Zoom, my internet, it isn't fast enough to work with internet. So that's why the pictures are loading so slowly. But yeah, you can see different ideas of how to use your Varoma. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that just in your search bar, you could just type in the word Varoma, and all the recipes that for the Varoma just come up first. So that very first one is the yogurt that I was just showing you. Sorry, my internet's not loading quickly enough. And it's just purely because I'm on Zoom at the same time as trying to access the website. But try typing in Varoma. You can see I've pulled up 772 results. And you can do desserts in there. Oh, it's finally loading, maybe. Damper cheesecake in jars. You can get little jars from the Thermomix website as well that fit in your Varoma. So I think they're called yogurt jars. So yeah, lots of different things you can do. Obviously don't have time to show you everything tonight in one little class, but I hope you've been able to get some different tips to help you use your Varoma. If you have other questions, please reach out to your consultant or myself. I'm about to end the recording, so if you have questions, you can just come off mute and ask me. Thank you for your comments in the chat. It's really nice that you're interacting that way. Also, something to know is as just a basic guide of how to steam something in your Varoma is 500 mils of water and a time, and then Varoma temperature. The speed will vary between 1 to 4. As I said, I like to do up to 4. I think it's faster. But if you want more of a gentle steam, do 1 or 2. The timing will depend on what you're steaming. In the back of your basic cookbook, if it's white or if it's green, it'll be at the front. There is a steaming guide, and that goes for a few pages because it goes through lots of different steaming guide options, and it will give you the times of how to steam each different things for fruits, veggies, and meats and fish and things like that. So yeah, thank you for being on tonight, and I hope that was really helpful. I will end the record. Where's my button? And hope to see you all on another class that we do.